Hello, everyone. It's very important that you listen to this recording as you trickle into the space. I don't know how many people are gonna come into this space today, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters right now is that I'm actually pretty happy about this. I've never felt this sense of just you know it's ironic, but it's ironic in a good way. After the coronavirus did what it did to the job market and this economy, and I've had like more money than I've ever seen in my life. And I'll let you come up and speak later. I just wanna get out some really important things out there, and then I'm gonna open it up to people. So basically, the economy has changed right now in such a profound way that a lot of employers out there are getting desperate. And I ultimately think that this is a good thing. I ultimately think that the days of, people who are workers being taken for granted, it seems like those days are over. And I feel as though now that what's going on in where I work specifically is actually happening, a lot of people who are working there are going to go back to school, and that's going to leave our company like really short staffed. And if I'm being honest, I couldn't be happier about that, because that gives me then they have to treat me like gold, you know? And then I don't if I get treated in a way that I find is unacceptable or bothersome, then I can just go home. I mean, I don't need the money. I have my family. I have a lot of things to fall back on, but it's a perfect time for me to just step into my power. And I just think, my life is about more than a job, and it always was. Ever since I was young, all I knew is this. I'm a, you know, I have a very, very, how can I explain? I have a very nuanced, creative mind. And I always felt as though when I was young, that nuanced, creative, interesting mind of mine wasn't really honored by my family, by my teachers, by society at large. None of that. And I was always meant to feel as though, as though I should be expected to be taken for granted. And I hated that. I couldn't stand that. But then it was inculcated in me that it's just normal for people to be taken for granted. You're one out of billions of people in this world. Just be taken for granted and be happy with that. Well, let me tell you something. Fuck that mentality. Like, people are lucky to have me as a friend, and like, I just had it, and people are lucky to have me working for them. People are lucky to have me around their presence. So just consider yourself lucky if you are. But if you're not bothering me, and if you're not getting on my nerves, you have nothing to worry about. If you see this in me and you respect this in me, you're more than welcome to be around me and to talk to me, right? But if you're one of those people now in this stage of my life who just expect that I should be around you and you should be able to take me for granted, you have another thing coming, because that's not the way it's going to work anymore. I'm seeing more and more that the way I think and the way I can explain things and the way, my mind works is not like other people. And ultimately, that makes me unique. Ultimately, that's a good thing. But ultimately, I have to understand that it's like the way I was raised and the way that I grew up in this stupid city that's just full of consumerism and celebrity culture. That was the thing that kind of turned me off in my life, if I can explain it like that. Uh, okay, how can I get this in a way that makes sense? And then okay, so I was always thinking to myself, I was always thinking to myself, this celebrity culture and this consumerism. Oh, welcome, Paul. Just wait. I'm gonna let people up until I finish what I have to say. So, this celebrity culture and this consumerism that I grew up in a city like LA, I was never interested in that. I was always thinking of like philosophy, leadership, science, technology. How do we improve things and do that and all of that? And I feel as though my mind and my essence and my creativity have been taken for granted by my parents, my family, my employers, my school, and just this entire city around me. And then what happens? I get on spaces and I get on different kinds of social audio. And when I share this part of myself with the internet at large, people um let's appreciate it more. And that makes me appreciate myself more. And that makes me appreciate my life more. When other people on here appreciate what I have to say and what I have to speak about and everything like that. So how is it that when I get on here and I speak to all of you, I feel this sense of being respected and being happy and being honored, and then when I turn off my cell phone and I go into Los Crapolis, this stupid city that I can't stand, I don't feel that same way. What 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 contributes to that? I don't know. Maybe the city just wasn't designed to honor and prop up someone of my caliber, someone of my intelligence, someone of my thoughts, my essence. You know what I mean. So do I just have to take it? Is really what I'm asking myself, or is there another way? Like when I get invited to a large family gathering where I think it's all just noise, and they're having these small talk conversations that don't interest me and that I don't care about. Do I actually relay this information that I'm relaying all of you to them? Or do I just say, hey, look, if I just think to myself, if I'm not being respected and honored among these people, no matter what they say, I'm just going to walk out. I don't have to do it anymore. And if I'm not getting, this kind of respect and honor that I'm getting here in the virtual realm, which all of you are alive, all of you are just behind a screen. It's like, when am I can make a leap of faith to even get out of my city, try something, go to a place. I mean, every single time I took a vacation to another country or another city, I felt so much happier. And then I came back to LA, and then I felt this mundane, boring bullshit of like no one understanding me. So do I just freaking hop on a plane, go somewhere and just say, LA, fuck you. You never understood me. You never got it. You were so full of crap and you were so full of celebrity culture. I'm going to go to a place where they actually honor my brain, my essence, who I am, and all of those things. I don't need I was born here, but fuck you. You never respected me. You never cared about me. You never saw the kind of things in me that all these other people saw. So, LA, you can get fucked. Like, yeah, I feel, I don't know, I've woke up and I just feel something. Those times when you just feel something, and it's actually, it feels good. But then I'm thinking to myself, I don't have to be held hostage to a bunch of people. It's not that they hurt me or bother me. It's not that necessarily, but it's like, who just take you for granted. They don't see that in you. They're just blind. You know what I'm trying to get at. So I just needed a little like therapy session. So, or a little bit. It's about maybe like we're stepping into our power. Okay. So with all of that, you probably you guys are, I don't know how you guys are feeling, but come up and talk. Come up and say anything. What do you feel? What do you want to say? Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a lot to take in, but let me take a shot at it. Okay, number of elements. Okay, big city, L.A. Right? Okay, I think you can get that kind of a vibe or feeling from any real big city. It's like I'll go to New York City a lot, and I kind of think of it as being somewhat impersonal. Now that's my take on it because I'm a hick, but but the uh, the thing is that there's millions of people, vying for jobs, vying to get to work. It's the hustle and bustle. So that is a factor. That is a factor. Number two is, and thanks for putting that lady's thing in the nest about the empath. She's filled with a lot of wisdom. I think when you can get to a point with your job or with your family or whatever where you say, I just got to get away from here because, maybe sometimes there's no, like you said, there's no respect or there's disrespect. Um, Family member of mine is an expatriate, so to speak, moved to Thailand and loves it. I doubt if he's ever going to really come back except for vacations and be around the family. At first I had mixed emotions on that, and I said, why is he leaving us? I almost felt betrayed a little bit. But then I had to rethink that. I said, wait a minute, he's going to another place to establish himself, to be the best person he can be, to be the happiest person he can be, and he chose to do it in another country. So I shouldn't try to down that too much. I still have these little twinges of I wish he was here with us, and that's from a selfish point of view because I liked being around him because he's a good person, lovely person, great guy. So I kind of miss him in my being, in my soul. But I knew he had to move on to do what he has to do for himself. So I just and like I said, taking into consideration what that lady had to say in her YouTube thing, you take that all in, and you have to do what's best for yourself. And Ariel, you got a lot of good in you, and you got a lot, and you're a great commentator. You're a great uh, host and moderator. So it's you're doing some soul searching, and just go through it and do what you have to do, what's best for you.
And thank you. I'll really take in what you had to say. This is probably one of those recordings where I'm not gonna lose. I'm probably gonna make a YouTube recording of this recording and just keep it because I think I'll have to revisit this over and over again because I feel as though something is changing and it could be going in a good direction. Go ahead, Paul. Yeah.
First thing I have to say, hello, Ariel. It's been a while. Um, First of all, don't take it personally. Okay. Um, when you grow up as a child, your parents, your relatives, they see this version of you that they want to mold. They want to turn you into something. Okay. They have this vision for you, and then you become a teenager. And when you become a teenager, you start thinking independently. You start applying yourself in different ways. You are no longer what your parents want you to be. And they're going to continue to try to mold you into what they want. And you're going to mold yourself into what you want to be. So there's that parent resentment, okay? Every parent has this, unless, of course, the child turned out to be exactly what they wanted. Um, every parent does this. I have children, I have grandchildren, and I catch myself doing it, wanting my children to be what I want them to be, not what they want to be. So
But just that you realize that is the next level.
yes, yes, and most parents don't realize that because they're stuck in this fantasy of what they wanted their child to be, and then there's the disappointment, there's the resentment, and from there, every time you have something to say, they don't want to hear it if it goes against something that they believe. They only want to hear what coincides with their line of thinking. Now, again, it's not personal. It feels personal because, hey, they're your parents, they raised you. It's a mentality set. And once you understand that this is the mentality set, then you have to compensate for that. You still have to be who you are, and yet you have to appease what they want you to be if you want to get along. So that all falls on you and being the one that tries to get along, because they're not going to. They're already set in their ways, and eventually you're going to be like that also. We all are, but we have to recognize it, and that's where the difference comes in with some of us, is that we recognize it and we try to change it on the adult level, where we allow the child to grow up to be who they want to be and accept it. um, the majority of parents never accept it. Now, as far as the real world goes, when you get in a big city, LA, and it doesn't even have to be a giant city, okay? I mean, anything that's basically a population of about 20,000 or more. You have this, I mean, you've heard the phrase, it's a dog eat dog world. It is. And when you start facing the competition, you're out there, whether it's at a job, you're competing. No one wants to hear what you have to say. They just want you to complete the task at hand. I want you to kind of think about this. It's the same parenting mentality, okay? I hired you to do this job. This is what I want you to do because this is what I want you to be. I want you to be an employee. And when you have a mind that's greater than just being the employee, where you could actually run the place 100 times better than what they're doing it, you're not listened to, because now you are a threat. See, here's the difference. When it's a parent, you're not a threat to the parent. Okay? You're not going to take their job. They're always going to be your parent. But when you're in a place of employment, you can take their job, because no job, no position is guaranteed. If you're not good enough at it, you can't secure it, you can be replaced. Your parents can't be replaced, okay? Your child can't be replaced. The working world, everyone can be replaced. So when you bring ideas to the table, and trust me, I got 20 years in the casino industry, and I saw how poorly a lot of these casinos were run. And I knew the numbers. I knew the turnover. I saw everything involved, and I could have run a casino 100 times better. And anytime that I did, I was removed from that position. My ideas weren't listened to. They weren't even tried. They were like, Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. And yet, here it is. I just saved you $25,000 this month. So, you know, you become the competitor that can take their place. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to see that. Then when you go out into the everyday world of just discussions and stuff like that, we have become so politicized and so tribal that anything that goes against a person's belief has now become the norm, to where I don't want to hear you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to acknowledge you, because you say something different than what I want to hear. And when I was growing up in the 80s, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was the beginnings of it, but you could have a conversation with the neighbor person, and they're have a cup of coffee and shoot the shit. And even if you talked about politics, the weather, or religion, you would agree to disagree. Now it ends up almost like a bar fight. I mean, you okay. um, that's where we have progressed to. Now, when you take it to a philosophical standpoint, you take it to a sociological standpoint, you take it to a cultural standpoint, there's this old phrase called divide and conquer. And when you look at, our pledge to this country, united we stand, divided we fall. That's where we're at. We're at that division. Our government has divided us and has conquered us, because we're so tribal now that we fall in line with what, our belief system is for who we want to believe in. So this is where we the critical thinkers, the Stoics, the philosophers have to take a step back and look at things and say, hey, this isn't the world that I dreamed of living in. This isn't what I imagined things to be. It's gone the opposite direction. This is a horror flick. This is a thriller that I just don't want to be a part of. And yet, here we are. We live in this world today, and we have to change it. We have to open people's minds up so that they think a little bit differently. We have to train them into a new way of thinking because right now, the people have been divided and they have been conquered from within.
Oh my God.
And we will fall if
Y-
we
y-
continue this.
you're a breath of fresh air, Paul. I mean, like, this is why I love opening these spaces. This is why I like talking to people who are in here, because you guys kind of get it on a visceral level where other people are kind of like the lights are off and they're bumping into the walls. And I mean, I noticed this, like, I don't want to brag or sound narcissistic, but I noticed this in my bones ever since I was in like eighth grade. I I went to a school where the teachers hated their jobs. They didn't want to be there. They were just torturing us as students. And I'm like, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. And people were just passing it like this is just how life is like. I don't like people who say that because they have no vision. They have no creativity. They're useless people. It's like, no, no, no. If we don't like it, we can change it. That's the point. And then I would go home to something where I was just told that my dad was greedy, my dad was stingy, he was, he was doing this, he was doing that, like, and then like my family once in a while would have like a loud, rambunctious, obnoxious party, kind of to distract, just to have it. And I kept thinking to myself, I kept thinking to myself, if we really thought about it, we would get together, the students and the teachers, to talk about we don't feel as this is normal. We don't feel as if when we go to school every day to have a teacher who keeps saying that they're annoyed and who doesn't understand the students and just keeps assigning work and makes life complicated and difficult and hard and doesn't relate the work to the outside world. This isn't okay. This shouldn't just be passed as just the way things are. You know what I mean. And then, like, to have a family that just, I don't know, that doesn't honor or respect the young people and just tells them to be quiet and they don't know what they're talking about, that's not okay either. So I as I was growing up, I just saw so many things that were just so flawed and just so stupid, which people were always just telling me, just deal, it's just the way things are. And I hate that phrase. I think that is such a cop out, that is so pathetic. And I'm telling you, this is not some kind of anomaly, because ever since that age of like 13, 14 years old, I said I said something doesn't seem right, and I want to get together a group of people who see that and who want to do something about it with me. So with that, I'll go to Michael.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Paul was saying about your the expectations of parents. Um, we all, and maybe we're all guilty of it in one degree or another, but sometimes our kids, um, parents want to live vicariously through their children, whether it's okay, they had unrealized expectations for themselves or unrealized things that didn't happen in their own life. So they said, well, okay, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. I mean, with all due respects to generational things, I like in our area, we have doctors that have like doctor, then son, then grandson, like three generations of doctors. So once in a while, I get this twinge. Did any of the other ones that succeeded the original doctor in the family, the grandparent, did they really want to be doctors? Maybe, maybe not. And again, it's noble, and I don't want to question that, but just every once in a while, you get a twinge of that.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's the main problem of this stuff. It's that if you Okay. Jimmy, we're doing it with hands. Thank you. Let's go to January.
Oh no, we lost the otter.
Yeah, but
Bummer.
like that was kind of, you have to
Yeah,
wait.
no, Jimmy's been following me around to all spaces for the last few weeks.
Oh, okay.
Same thing. It's a spiel. It's very adorable. So what I was going to say was kind of like echoing some of the sentiments here is that not only are things broken, but we have an opportunity to fix them. And we have to not just say, oh, we're going to fix this, or oh, we're going to like a post, but it's at the point where we have to start taking action, and action includes going through volunteering, making sure that we're matching the same energy as the political parties. Like, we are up against a huge conglomerate that has a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of volunteers and manipulation and sources, and we're having to build those things ourselves. And in order to succeed, if we want it to succeed, we have to match their energy. And I'll just leave it at that.
Sure. But this is less about that stuff right now. You weren't here earlier. It's more about just on an viscerally individual level. I think it's like I started this space. I said I'm gonna spend less time and less energy being around the people who just take me for granted, and more time and energy being around the people who actually just respect me and honor me and want me to be here. Like not like want me to be here as in alive, but nobody wants me like gone. It's like want me to be here as in like they actually like respect what I want to say and everything like that. So Bryce has got some new emojis. I see. He probably like coded his way into them, but anyway, yeah, so that's what I want to check. I That's what I'm looking at, like just on a level of that. So with that, I'll go to Ernest. Go, Ernest. You had your hand up, so if you wanted to say anything, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I took it down. I was busy for the next couple of minutes, so I'll come back.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, the gist is that I just realized I woke up one day and I just said to myself, like this, like how can I just push the advantage that I have a little bit right now and do the things with my life that I've always wanted to, and just spend less time around the people that when I'm around them, I feel inadequate, I feel small, I feel as though I'm not being heard. And a long time in my life, I always felt like I had an obligation because of blood, because of some other thing in my head that I just had to. Now I'm feeling less and less, and it's like life is short. I don't want to spend it around people who don't get me and or understand me or take me for granted. Go ahead, Paul.
You still want to hang around them because you need to influence them. And the thing of it is the reason why you still have that feeling of being small is that you you still take it personally. You take what they say to you and how they treat you. You take it as a personal hit against you. Once you quit doing that, you quit taking it personally, then when you speak to them and you have conversation with them, it's going to have a different effect. And that would be my only advice to you. Stop taking it personal because it's not personal. It feels that way. It feels like you're personally being attacked. I know how that feeling is. But you have to remember another person's ignorance, another person's ignorance. So I'm not calling people stupid. Ignorance means without knowledge. Another person's ignorance isn't your fault. And when you realize that somebody has that ignorance, as a good human being, it is your job to help educate them and give them the right knowledge. And eventually, hopefully, they're willing to open up their eyes and learn a little bit.
Right. Yeah. But it's not even that. It's just that like we don't even relate on any kind of level, like intellectually or hobbies or interests, and it's just it's they're good people, but it's just exhausting. Go ahead, Ernest. Now you got your hand back up.
Um, yeah, sorry. I think I may have missed something that you might have been just sort of keying in on in the last couple minutes. Like I don't know what you're talking about, like via relationships and whatnot, or like interests.
Oh, well, I'm just talking about like, look, I have people I know that the only thing they like is kind of like being at loud places and like talking about things that I'm not interested in and buying expensive things and having parties where the music is all up and loud and they're all just talking small talk, and that's not who I am and that's not what I like. So does that make sense? You know, like just
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was just sort of curious, just because I'm sorry if it's sounding a little windy. I don't know if it is or not. Let's go into.
no, no, it's
Uh,
not mean. You probably didn't get. Yeah, you probably didn't understand. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at the title of the space and listening to people talk. And so
sure.
I just like I was like, oh, I think felt like I was a little out of the loop for a moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like the thing is I just said sometimes I feel an obligation to be around certain people who I always end up then when I leave like not enjoying the interaction and wanting to go home, and it's like I just want to step into some kind of power where I feel like why would I obligate myself to just be around people that don't make me feel happy or make me feel good is all I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, the question is like for these people, what is the reason that they spend their time doing these things? Do you consider them frivolities or like
Yeah,
objective wastes of
I
time?
just yeah,
What would you rather they be doing? I suppose.
I don't know. I'd rather they be, doing what we're doing here, discussing ideas and philosophies and talking about maybe like science, technology, something like that. I don't know, but all I know is that that's just not the kind of person who I am to enjoy these kinds of things. And when I keep getting invited and when I keep getting told to go and I keep getting like coaxed and coerced, it's I don't know, it bothers me.
Why don't you just go and like? Well, I guess there's a couple things you can do. You can go there. You can sort of abandon all the cares, concerns, and I don't know, things that are either concerning or even inspiring to you that make you want to like do things like in the material world that don't involve like I don't know, like it sounds like what you're describing is simply just essentially just like consumerist frivolity,
Mm.
which I agree. I don't really enjoy like all that either, but I do like interacting with people, and even like even people who are focused, more often on distractions and frivolous things. I think there are moments where you can speak to them, as long as you don't become too preachy about it. So I think either you can you can go there, just throw off all those cares and concerns, have fun for a little while, or you can go in there, be a huge fucking buzzkill, and just make everyone be like, okay, well, we're never inviting fucking
No,
Ariel
I
again.
would be happy if they didn't. So that
And
would
then the
actually
third,
be a good.
well, then you could do that then, But the
Right,
third
yeah.
one, I think, may be the most appealing, and that's to, go there, talk to people, but go there with that productive mindset and try to look for moments where you can actually interject something of meaning into an otherwise meaningless like space, conversation, or just like overall like I don't know, like hangout. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's important, and I think those
I
I
mean,
think
I
it's
mean, I,
walking a
I
fine
don't know.
line.
I don't
You're
know
walking a
about
fine line
you.
between just being a huge buzzkill and waiting for those
I,
moments, but I
I,
think
I
it
don't
can be
know
done.
if you've like I don't know your personality, so I don't know if you kind of enjoy that stuff. Uh. Yeah.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I don't like I don't drink, like I don't smoke, but
Okay.
I like to socialize and talk to people, especially
All
if we're
right.
talking about ideas.
Got it.
So I run into the same problem that you do.
Okay.
Like basically what I'm saying is it's a pretty fine line between being that massive buzzkill where people are just like, okay, well I'm gonna drop your phone number, and never like never invite you again,
Uh-huh.
and being just like,
Oh, okay. I'm
you know,
talking
just
about.
opening their eyes enough.
Wait. I'm talking about family. This is a family, so I'm just putting that out there. So that's not gonna happen, right? Maybe it's like friends that I knew, but if I'm talking about aunts, uncles, cousins, so they're never gonna do that. But it's like I've it's just exhausting. Anyway, go ahead.
Do you
Yeah.
can I just ask you one question? Do you have any like super hardcore like I don't know, just like centrist Dem types in the family or MAGA types in the family?
I do have MAGA types. I do have I do have. It's funny. One uncle is a Democrat. The all the others are MAGA types. But they don't. They don't. It doesn't. Even before Trump even existed, it didn't. It didn't matter because they were always like this. It didn't matter if it was like Bush or Obama or whatever. That has nothing to do with it. It's just that it's just I just don't like being around those kind of environments. Let me say, Bryce, go ahead. You have your hand up.
No, I've just been playing with my new emoji set. I got a thumbs down. That's pretty cool.
Nice. How did you get the set?
No, I guess they're rolling it out selectively.
Oh, they're giving it faster
Yeah,
to
look
Android.
what else came back. The 100,
Good.
the Power Fist.
Right. There we go. Okay.
That's the other ones.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I haven't updated the app yet. Well, anyway. Okay. Well, I'll go back to Ernest. Go ahead.
No, I was just curious, like, cause a couple of reasons. Like, I just got back from my younger brother's wedding, so like, I just saw all the same like, extended family and all that, and yeah, sort of going through the same shit that like you're describing, right? Like, I got the MAGA uncles, I got the
Yeah.
you know, like the lib uncles who are like from like the Chicagoland area. I mean, they're all from the same
Yeah.
area. It's just that one
Yeah.
of them is a fucking MAGA type.
Well,
But
it's actually
it
funny.
sounded like what you were. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's funny because it's a cultural thing too. I come from an Iranian family. A certain part of Iran is even different than others, and they're very, they have personalities that are very in your face, very loud, very boisterous, and I'm just not like that, Like that's it. And they're the only reason some of them are MAGA types and become Republicans is because obviously they hate the Iranian regime, or else why would they move from there? And so the Republicans also hate the Iranian regime. So it's like, okay, like, yeah.
No, I 100% feel you. Coming from a fucking a Polish family, I understand the loud, boisterous element that you're describing. Just being in your face and just like just loud as hell, even when they're not being confrontational. I mean, I'm like that too, so like no shade. Uh, but yeah, no, I was just curious because like it's weird to see like normally, especially in the post-Trump world, maybe it's a little different because of like you know maybe a running culture here, but like
Yeah.
it's like my MAGA uncles since Trump, they will not shut the fuck up about him at any family gathering. So it's not like they don't drop those and just engage in their frivolities. I almost wish they would.
Right. What's funny? It's like I'll tell you, like, so in fact, but if they would want to talk about Trump more in politics, I would enjoy it actually a little more than just the frivolities. But it's kind of funny. It's like but here's what happened. What happened to me was that I was at work. One of my family members comes, starts making like disparaging comments about what I'm wearing, and there's like some kind of stain on my shirt somewhere, and I look tired and all this. And after making all those disparaging comments, she's like, oh, and we're all gonna get together on Friday. I'd really like to see you there. I really want to see you there. And I just kind of like nod and smile, and I'm like, no fucking way. And then I tell and then I come home and I say to my mom, like, there's no way. There's just no way. Why the hell would I want to do that? Like, after all those like insults and disparaging comments, I want to, like, like, entertain, like a not like go there and be around all that stuff that I don't like. Anyway, go ahead, Bryce.
Did you end up going to the party?
No, I said, like, no matter, my mom was like, he's like, oh, she already said she's sorry and this and that, and come on, what are they gonna say? And I said, tell them the truth. And I just put my foot down and I said no, and that was that. I didn't, and I had a space instead, and I was much happier. I knew I was just gonna like sit on some place in their big house, and they were gonna talk about, BS that I didn't care about, and I would just kind of like, I would just kind of like sit there and hear all the noise and relate to nothing. And they would say, "Hey, how if we get you a drink?" And they know I don't drink. Oh yeah, here, have a drink. And then I'm like, no, it's not happening. I'm not like 14. I'm not 17. I'm like a freaking adult. And they've been doing this like forever. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, I mean, Bryce, maybe you have.
No, yeah,
Bryce.
I know. I was saying, okay, I was gonna say, yeah, like I told you the other day, I said we all have kind of people in our family like that, like that's just their way, right? They're a little bit like annoying, over the top, or they say things like, I got an uncle who just has no filter and just shit just rolls out of his mouth, you know? And it's like, I'm not saying it's excusable or it's cool or whatever. It's just you kind of learn the operating system, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
I.
that's key. Hold on, that's key to engaging it. And then the
Yeah.
second thing I had to do is like, it's interesting. I think Ernest, is that his name, talking about like now how we divide our family or friends. Like you walk into a group and it's like, oh, he's a mega type or he's a liberal type. Like our like this weird political environment now is the first binary that we use to separate people, which is kind of weird and obnoxious. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
fucking
I know what
cares
you mean.
about their fucking politics? Like,
Yeah. No, it's not their politics. It's just their
I
person.
know.
It's not. It's just their personality. I don't vibe with.
No,
I
I
don't
know, but I'm
care
just
who.
saying these personalities existed. His family's personalities existed before Trump, but
Before,
now everyone's like,
right?
I hate this
Exactly.
stupid
Yeah.
Trump narrative. It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, let me clarify. So, no, you're totally right. It's only because he was speaking in the context of like, like people being apolitical or not during a party or something like that. And no, you're totally right. These people did exist. It's just that they never talked politics. Um, both my like lib and conservative like wings of the family never really talked politics a whole lot pre-Trump. And just since then, it's just like nothing but. That's all I was pointing out.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, but I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying that this is the world we live in now. Like everything's like defined by fucking Trump. I'm so fucking tired of it.
Me
There were
too.
Republicans. Look, people had before Trump, right-leaning people had right-leaning values. Left-leaning people had left-leaning values. Why is it now like everything has changed? It's just such horseshit. I know it becomes a topic of conversation. It is annoying, but it's just like I think
Right.
it's funny that people look at everything through a Trumpian lens. It's like fuck off.
The thing that bothers me the most is like being around like certain people is actually like more emotionally exhausting than actual doing actual work. Like there's some times where I wouldn't mind being at work than actually having to put up with certain people and their behaviors. Like it's more work to put up with certain people's behaviors than it is to
It
go
is, dude. It is, dude. But that's
work.
life, man. You just got
Right.
to be
Yeah.
able to sidestep it. You got to get just through reps, you know. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
you got family and friends and neighbors. They're all different operating systems. You got to figure them out and then have a plan for each one. It's tiring, but that's just the way it is. That's just life. You're gonna have work. You're gonna have work parties you don't want to go to. There's all these things. It's not
Yeah.
just family parties, dude. It's never gonna stop. So you just got
Yeah.
to figure a way around it.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Like I said, don't take it personally. When Ariel, you have a lot of passion, you have a lot of heart, okay, and because you see the world the way that you do, and we all see the world the way that we do, okay, that's just the way we see the world. And the way that you see the world isn't the way your parents see the world or your relatives see the world. They see it differently. They see the party, they see the fun, they see the, whatever it is that they have, going on. That's what they see. Okay. And because your visions are different, there's going to be that, that friction, that rubbing you the wrong way, you rub them the wrong way because of different things. And kind of like Bryce said, they have that mindset of where they're at, and it's just not going to change.
Yeah.
And you have to come at things with a different approach. Um, I can remember back when you guys were talking about how people describe people. Yeah, she's a floozy. You don't want to be around that. Yeah, he's a boozer, or yeah, he's one of those hippie people, or yeah, they like their drugs, or and now you don't hear descriptions like, oh yeah, he's gonna sit there and preach to you about Jesus all day. You don't hear those descriptions anymore. You hear libtard, you hear MAGA, you hear everything's gone political. I mean, this is the most political time and era that I've seen in my 53 years on this planet. And things are so different and so complex. And yet, if you step back a second, it's very, very simple. Just like these spaces, you come into these spaces, you have a group that you hang with that come in, they hear you get what you like, and if you're not liking the space, you have the ability to go open your own space and talk about what you want, and people that want to hear that kind of stuff, that's what they're going to come in and listen to. And then you're going to make your groups of friends and people that you can associate with. This is the beauty about spaces. We can go into like-minded atmospheres and enjoy the conversation and be a part of it. When you're with family, however the orientation is of the conversation, sometimes you're trapped. You can't leave. You're held there against your will to listen to Uncle Joe's time that he spent in Vietnam, or Aunt Bill's transitionary period, or cousin Jamie and her 27 kids, and how each one has grown so much. I mean, there's just certain things that it's just like, I don't want to put up with that. I don't want to hear that. And again, I'm not putting anybody down for, any of the things that they do in their life. It's just that there's some things that you hear it, so many times. It's like, as soon as they say the first two words, it's just like, oh, here we go. It's that story again. And, you're just like, God, I really don't want to be here. Then don't be there. My family, anyone that is good in my family, they've already passed on. Everyone else in my family, I haven't contacted in probably a decade, because I really just don't want to have a conversation with them and all that. And a lot of people would be like, but their blood, yeah, okay. If blood violates you and mind fucks you and all this stuff, they're just another human being that is doing bad things that I don't want to deal with. That's why I don't associate with my family anymore, because it's just not good mental health for me. So if it's a mental health aspect and they're really, really depleting your mental health, um, move on. You know,
Yeah.
don't go.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
talk
No,
to them.
no, and
Don't
that and
call.
that's kind of what I did when I put my foot down and I didn't go after those disparaging comments at the store. And then an invite. Who invites someone by having a disparaging comments as a prelude? Like, that's like, you want to get a lesson in like how not to do something. And also and also it's like, I'm a guy who has these like big dream kind of aspirations and has this holistic way of like critical thinking and looking at the world. And like 90% of my family, like, they wouldn't know. I'm sorry, they wouldn't know critical thinking if it bit them in the ass. Like, and that's just that. And it's like, it's like I lose energy. I want to be on the same energy level as people who have big ideas, dreams, things that are, want to change the way people look at something. And I know I can't always be around people like that, and it's not, it's probably not even feasible. But damn, I'm going to try my darndest to find the people who are like that, so I can share that kind of energy with them instead of being around people that just because, we're related in air quotes, the energy is always this like, bland small talk party kind of thing. With that, I'll go to Ernest.
Yeah. So, excuse me. To Bryce's point about like everything sort of being defined and like orbiting around Trump, like I think that's true to a certain degree, but not necessarily because of Trump, more just because of the role that he played in activating like I guess sort of like new new initiates to like the idea of like grievance politics, right? Especially from a nationalist perspective, which is just not something that we really had. Like patriotism was more or less like a bipartisan thing, and Trump used certain elements of like bipartisan agendas to kind of split the difference between that new quote unquote patriot wing who like was and is, I guess, far more nationalist. And so even though like he's sort of out of the scope of the conversation in many ways, I think it exists because he helped define it, and because of course, as the saying goes, the American people are, to put it lightly, not intellectual, right? So I think it goes even a little bit further to what Paul was talking about, like regarding the divide, because I disagree with that. I don't think this is the most divided that the U.S. has ever been. I mean, I know it feels like that at times, but I think just that the terrain has shifted more than anything. And in the past, whether you're talking about like I don't know, early 18th century, party division and the creation of the Whigs, or later on the creation of the Republicans under the flag of abolition, and all the sorts of different things that people argued about in material terms. We don't really have any of that anymore. Now it's all just fucking culture war grievance politics. Um, the grievance coming from the right wing, and I guess more status quo defense than anything coming from the left, or the center at least. And so I just feel like it's more manufactured than anything. That's my take.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess the Trump presidency did bring to light a segment of voters that were always there. Maybe it put them in the highlight, but I'm just saying I've seen it in my lifetime. I'm in my late 40s. As a kid, Reagan was a stupid guy. He was a Nazi. He was a racist. H.W. Bush, W was the dumbest president ever. Blah blah blah. It's just like these segments in our politics have always been there, right? I get tired of the Trump conversation because he's a cult of personality. He's a polarizing figure, but is the country more divided? I think it is. I mean, they've done statistics, they've done polls on this. It's just as bad now as it was like pre-Civil War, supposedly, by however they measure it. This is not a gut feel thing. This is scientific data they've put in articles that however they measure that, they feel like we're at a point that isn't good. So I would agree with Paul that things are really divisive, but it's like we have decisions to make. We don't have to make it divisive. I don't need to go to the party and talk about fucking Trump all the time. Like the reason why a lot of people on the right like Trump is just it's the stupid. Like you said, it's a stupid culture war thing. What does he do? He owns the libs better than anybody else, and unfortunately, we live in a society where we put a lot of value on somebody like dunking on somebody on social media. So that's on us, right? That's we're electing these people. This is what we want. We want Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody. It's like the big AOC dunks on Ted Cruz. Fuck that. That what is that? That this is stupid. But we applaud that shit. What do? We get 100,000 retweets and multiple likes and spend half the day commenting how awesome Ted Cruz got owned. I mean, we get what we deserve.
Yeah, it's a level of like intellectual discourse at a kindergarten level. It's like preschool kindergarten level politics for a country of stupid idiots. Sorry, I'm not anyone in this room, but like just these dumb shits that are just so happy with like this stuff. It's like a kindergarten level of discourse for these goddamn morons. Sorry, I get frustrated. Go ahead, Michael.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree with both Bryce and Paul. You know, we are a divided nation for sure. And it doesn't help that we sling the mud towards each other, no matter if it's from the left to the right, right to the left. And I'm with Bryce on this one. I don't even want to like look at it on Twitter or get or even enjoin it. Stay away from it, you know. But you know, if you're in a space where politics is going on, I guess you have to kind of listen to it or take it in stride. I just wanted to bring this back from the political level to the family level. Um, it seems to me like if whatever you're going through with your family, and believe me, all of us have that, as we've all experienced. All of us go through it. You can either you can approach it with cordiality, be cordial. You can tolerate it, with tolerance, or you can just lay your cards on the table. Because sooner or later, with the buildup of explosion, and I've seen it happen in my family, it reaches that fever pitch to where somebody blows up and leaves the party. Seen it time and time again, and they leave the party and it's all in chaos, and then it kind of like after a couple of weeks blow by, people get back together again for another round, but maybe with a renewed I better watch my step this time from the person that was the offending party. And so you kind of have to like there's options, and I guess the final option is to just totally cut them off and not be around them at all. That's kind of radical, but I guess I mean, it could come to that point. But you do have options.
Right, options are important. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to respond to Ernest and all that. If you go prior 1968, I'm sure we had some huge divisions in this country. During my lifetime, this is the most divided I've ever seen it. Prior to that,
True, you did
1700.
say in your 53 years, but that yeah, that's correct.
Yes, yes.
Fair point.
Yep, and I know from the research that I've done into the political parties and looking into division, how they vote and stuff like that. We had more bipartisan work, all the way from the late 1800s all the way up to where we're at now. Again, even party wise, this has been the greatest division that this country has ever experienced, with the exception possibly of the Civil War, which is why a lot of people are saying we could be headed towards a civil war. And that's again the division between the North and the South, and the division that we have now. It's not so much North South as it is red blue. So, yeah, the division in this country, though, is a huge issue. It's why the title of my book is called The Red Herring Effect, the propaganda, the rhetoric that's put out there, and what it does to us as a nation. It's something that I pointed out earlier. United we stand, divided we fall, and we're at that divisionary point to where divide and conquer is being utilized by our government, thus the red herring effect, divide and conquer the people. We've been conquered by our own government. We have been conquered.
I I think it's even more than that. I think people have just been conquered by their own stupidity and their lack of intellectual prowess. You know, because if more people out there, and I know I sound offensive sometimes, if more people out there weren't complete fucking idiots, they would do their research, they would think before they take a position, they would say, why am I feeling the way I am? Are these people who are riling me up? Are they really out there for my best interest? Or am I just a cash cow to them because I donate to them, I scream for them? And at the end of the day, these people aren't really going to care about me. They just want to use me as a pawn. But they don't
Right.
have that level of brain power, so they end up falling for it.
Right, but that's where the division comes into play. Ariel, is if you keep your country stupid, you keep your country ignorant, and you feed them the rhetoric, you feed them the bullshit, and that's what they rely on. Then there's where you create the division. So what you're saying is absolutely true. It all plays together because again, ignorance is bliss. I mean, really think about those words. Ignorance is bliss. As long as you remain ignorant and you just go with the flow, excuse me, then you're just part of the system and all that. But when you become a free thinker and you start applying things and looking things up and you start researching and you start to see what's really going on, now you're the disruptor. And I have no problem with being the disruptor because that's what this country needs. It needs some disruption. That is
Yeah.
why Trump got elected. He was a fucking disruptor.
Right, exactly. But he was a disruptor for all the wrong reasons. We need a disruptor for
Correct.
all the right reasons. So when we find, I think Andrew Yang would have been that right reason disruptor, but I think that he didn't have that kind of firebrand personality. And now I just actually put up the tweet. He went from presidential candidate to Twitter punching bag because he couldn't push back. With that, I'll go to Ernest.
So yeah, like, so here's the thing: is like, we talk about like this like this massive division and all of that, and like, yeah, no, I agree that it exists. What I'm just saying is that like it's a total facade. Like it's just it's not based on anything material. Like if we go back to that pre 1968 stuff we're talking about, this is why I'm mentioning the terrain. It being so important here. It's like there were substantive issues like of far more consequence than the shit that we argue over today. And to Paul's point, I do believe that it is like, you know, sort of the government or at least, whatever institutions want to keep people stupid, keeping them stupid and being triumphant in that goal. The only question I would ask anyone, who seems to think that like this is out of step with, the totality of American history, I would say, well, when was this not the case? Because I don't think it ever really happened. I don't think it was ever really an occurrence during American history. Like we have been kind of, in a lot of ways,
It's the
ignorant,
elites.
stupid babies. It's
Yeah,
always been the elites, though, and that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
just go for
I think
America.
what is so easy is that the people who have so much power are like, hey, these people are beginning to see that their lives aren't exactly that great. Well, we don't want them to blame us. So how can we make a population just stupid enough to get at each other's throats instead of point their like look at us and say that we're taking advantage of them? So like if we don't want them to realize that we're taking advantage of them, let's turn them on each other, and then you see all the morons who fall for it. Let's see. Let's go to Minnow. I think you had your hand raised, but you did.
Yes, sorry. No, I did. I just I put it down for a sec. I was talking to somebody else. But yeah, earlier on we there was a mention of, I think Paul was talking about our government kind of keeping us down and dividing us. And Ariel stepped in and was talking about people being a bunch of idiots. And I think both are kind of correct, but I think it's important to take note that our education system is in large part designed by our government to do just that. And I think that's something that we really need to take into
Right.
consideration
We
is
never
that our
learn about
education
money in
system,
school.
yeah, our education system needs huge advancements to try to keep up and educate our people, right? Societal advancement is going to be based on on education of our populace, not how much money a couple percentage of our population can gather.
Yeah, good point. Great point. I've been saying that all the time ever since 8th grade. I've been saying we don't learn about emotional intelligence, we don't learn about money, we don't learn about how to make relationships, we don't even learn about business. we learn about, the hypotenuse or something like that. But no employer ever asked me about the Pythagorean theorem or the hypotenuse. They wanted to know my communication skills, what I knew about money, all that stuff. So our education system is definitely created by a person who was maybe a complete fucking idiot too, which is kind of ironic. Anyway, let's go to, I think it was Bryce and then Michael.
Yeah, one last thing about the politics, and I was going to go back to your family, is that I think one of the measurements I remembered after I got done speaking before was just about how little our representatives are reaching across the aisle. Everything is just staying right on party lines. I know that's one of the measurements of polarization, right? Because we're a representative democracy, so we put these people in place, and the people we put in place are or less apt to have any bipartisan agreement. Without no bipartisan agreement, you don't really get anything. Don't get anything passed, or it's very, very difficult. So that's at least one of the indicators. And then I would just say, like with your family, Ariel, think about it like from a Stoic lens, right? It's to the tenets of Stoic philosophy. That's my thing. Is like that dichotomy of control, right? I don't worry about what other people do. I can't control it. I can only control what I'm going to do. And you can't even control your original wave of emotion when somebody does something to you or something happens. You kind of have your feelings, but after that, you have all the cards in your hand. You can make decisions, right? So you can't control what your aunt's going to do or the crazy uncle or your neighbor or whatever. So, but you can control how you respond to it, and you have a lot of options, like Michael said, right? And another thing Stoics believe is like, hey, I don't have to judge everything. Like it's just a data, it's just an output. So your aunt does something nutty. Okay, she just says something. Who cares? They're just words, right? It's like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
effect does it
no,
really
no,
have
no,
on your life?
absolutely, absolutely. Because I think it's just, you know what's interesting. I think it's just the history, right, behind who your family members are that make you feel in a certain way. Now, okay, let me do a little thought experiment. Let me just pretend there was a guy with disheveled hair and a lisp, and like he smelled like absolutely disgusting, saying the same thing that my aunt said to me. Like I wouldn't even care, because it's like, who the hell is that person, right? To be saying this. So I think when you said something so good, when you add that kind of, I've known this person since I was a child and they were always like this and I'm around them. But then if you kind of think to yourself, well, how would I feel if I was just walking down the street and a person shouting nonsense just looked at me and said the same thing at that time that my aunt just said to me? I would feel like, oh, I don't care. Like, who are they, right? So that is one way to take the sting out of something like that. To be like, they may be family, but I already know that, like, they don't know much anyway, so their opinion is gonna like hurt less,
Right, right. The
right?
value
Yeah,
you created value in your head, what that means to you. I mean, the word said could have been said by anybody, right? It
right.
just right.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you can't be a robot and say, well, I mean, if your mom tells you something that's different than if a stranger does. I mean, of course, it's going to have impact because of the relationship, at least initially, but after that, it doesn't have to, right?
right, exactly. It can just like be water off a duck's back, right?
Yeah,
After
but you just have to think about it that way. It's like I can't control what this woman's going to do. She could be crazy. That's on her, right?
right,
And furthermore, I mean, if I were you, I might have showed up to the party anyway and just acted like it didn't bother me because
right,
it's like at that point you give power to the words
but
that somebody else
but
used against you. You're not
no,
rewarding them.
well, I already don't enjoy the party, so that actually
Okay, I
worked.
gave you an out.
It
That's a
it it,
different
it
thing.
worked to my benefit.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying, in reality, though, if somebody like would be like smart assy to me, I might still show up because it's like you have no the show that has no power. It's like you
Right,
say
right.
whatever.
But I just think it's so cool how we can, we impose these things on ourselves to be offended and to get bothered. And now that I think about it, it's like I already have a whole group of people here who already know my intelligence and my talent, so I can give more weight to the opinions of the people in this room than I do when I just and go over there and I physically meet those people. So I have that option. So that's wonderful. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I was just going to add on that I'm going to be bringing in this interview with Adam Grant with Margaret Hoover. He said something that kind of struck me, and you can apply it on a personal level, on a national level. He talked about how we're languishing, and to languish is to be stuck with your wheels spinning. And I think you can apply it, like I said, on a personal level and on a national level. We're starting to pull out of it, but we're still not out of we're not out of the woods. And with that, with a languishing goes a sense of powerlessness. So I just wanted to add that.
Right. And when I feel the most powerful, right, in my life, if I'm just talking personally, is when things get done. It's that if I have a travel plan with somebody I really like and I know, and it comes together and we go to those places and we do the things I wanted to do, I feel a sense that wow. And also like when at my job when I sell a TV, and it just like when the most powerful feeling is like when you're some guy in business and a deal gets closed and both sides are happy with the outcome. That it's like I want more feelings like that. I want more feelings of like, we came together in this room and we discussed that we wanted to do something and that something actually got done. Now that's like let's concentrate on having more feelings like that instead of more feelings of, it's just the tires in the mud and the wheels are spinning and nothing is going anywhere. Also when WPKN Bryson Ossia, which I probably have to close in 15 minutes. I'll get to that later. But that actually went somewhere. Like that, the recording, it actually got done. People actually listened to that broadcast. Something actually got accomplished. I think that's the opposite feeling of this powerlessness and the sense of something's not getting somewhere. So we can concentrate on doing more of those things and having more of those feelings for sure. Good cat. That was very great, Michael. Go ahead, Brutum. You have your hand up.
Hey everyone, hey Ariel, how's it going? Um, I just got in here fairly new to the conversation. Can someone please catch me up?
Yeah, it's been we've been going on kind of all over the place. I started the space by talking about how I want to spend less time and energy on people that make me feel as though like I'm not worth it, or they don't really listen to me, or they're really not on my level intellectually and emotionally. I want to like get more away from that because I feel like I deserve that. I don't have to make excuses for not wanting to be around certain people that I don't share anything in common with. I just have to tell myself, just I don't have an excuse. I just don't want to. And I don't need an excuse to not want to do something. I just don't want to do it. Right? That. And like I want to spend time with people who don't take me for granted, who appreciate what I bring to the table, and who treat me like an equal. Or people like, I don't know, I was always young and I always wanted to be like a leader, a presenter, a speaker. And I don't like and in some situations you feel as though like your presence isn't even like worth anything. And I just want to spend less time in those situations. What I was getting at. Okay, cool. So that's about. I brought you up to speed.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate it. I'm just gonna listen for a little bit before I chime in.
Wonderful. And you see, I like being like that kind of attitude. What you just said right there is such a good attitude because it's like I know I'm you don't want to have a frivolous conversation. You don't want to make it about you. You actually want to see what's going on, understand what's going on, and then when you see and understand, then you want to add your 2 cents, as opposed to a lot of other people who don't do that, who just want to like who just want to say, hey, I feel this way and you all just need to shut up and listen. And it's like I don't want to be around people like that. I don't want to be around people who think that their opinion holds more weight than your opinion does, and it's always more important, and they want to make you feel small and insignificant. And it's like there is there's something else about leadership and mentorship, that it's not just about passing down information to the person who's the mentee or the person who's a follower, but it's also about putting that sense of inspiration into the person you're leading and into the person who's listening to you. So, it's a rising tide that lifts all boats. I think the worst managers and leaders in the world are these, overconfident assholes who just want to lead and manage by making the people they're leading and managing feel small and inadequate. They're shitty leaders and they're shitty management. Good leaders and good managements, they're not like, I want to make you feel small and inadequate. It's like, I want to make you feel as though you matter and you're doing something important. So you're more liable. If you had that kind of leadership and you have that kind of management, you would want to stay instead of going to a place that constantly made you feel small and miserable. So, thank you. It's an epiphany day for me today. So let's see. Actually, I do have to get going in another 10 minutes, so I'll just leave it for. I said closing thoughts. So I'll start with Ernest. Do you want to give any closing thoughts? And then once you give your thoughts, I'll just put you down to listener, and I'll go to everybody else. Okay. What about Minnow? Any closing thoughts? Don't tell me I lost this space. Hello.
I'm still here.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
still here.
Okay, okay, cool, cool. I was just scared that I said all that stuff and nobody listened to it. Okay, cool. Let's see. So, okay, so I guess that just leaves Michael. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that don't lose heart. Just keep on keeping on.
For sure. All right. Paul, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just Ariel, keep the fire, keep the passion. It's there. It's a beautiful thing. We all love you. You got great ideas, and you have a great mentality on a lot of things. Just don't take things so personally and all that. Kind of step back, like Bryce said, and all that. You're in control. You really are.
Oh,
And when people are giving you shit, just kind of roll with the flow and make sure that you steal their toilet paper in the end. But bottom line is that just keep up the things that you do, man. You're a good human being. You got a great personality, and don't let this stuff get you down and all that. The people that you surround yourself with, they're good people, and the other people that you have to encounter here and there, um,
yeah.
we have to tolerate people. That's what we need to do. We just have to learn how to tolerate.
That was the best. And thank you for that, Paul. I really appreciate it. All right, awesome. Let's see. Okay, I guess that just leaves Brutum. Anything? Uh, any okay. Well, and this is optional. Closing thoughts. So anyway, okay. So I'll just close. I wanna thank everybody for coming here, for sharing their piece and saying what they said. And if you really want to get the gold out of this, everybody who's been here, listen to the recording, because Michael was here during when the recording was going on, and I kind of shared what led to me opening up the space and saying the things that I said. So as soon as I end it, if you just wanna listen to some gold nuggets, it's all right here. Okay, thank you everybody for participating. Good night. I mean, good morning or goodbye.